healing, reminding you of how powerful you are to create your health and your life. And today we have a very special guest, Kaleo, with the Ho'olanapua organization. We're going to talk to her in just a minute. I just want to tell you how I came about being involved with this organization. It really touched my heart. In January, I believe, of this past year, I was invited to a screening of a documentary called The Path Appears, and it was about sex trafficking in the U.S. There's 3 parts to that documentary, and I happened to see the first one that night, and it totally amazed me at how this is so prevalent in our country and also in Hawaii, and I had no idea, and it's just under our noses all the time. So I really felt called to do something, to do whatever I can, and so the last program, my most recent program that I launched, the Heal Yourself Now Masterclass, the online program to help people heal themselves from chronic illness, I now donate a percentage of the proceeds from that to this organization because I just wanted to do something. So today we are going to be talking to Kaleo about the organization, what it's all about, and what we can do to get involved if you feel called as well. So Kaleo, thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you for having us here.
Yeah, you're welcome. So tell me a little bit about yourself and how you got involved initially with the organization.
So I'm a full-time volunteer with Ho'olanapua. I actually have a full-time job. My family's in the restaurant business. So I do this. What happened was I heard about sex trafficking through a group of friends on the mainland. And so I went to a training. I actually reached out first in the state of Hawaii to see if there were any organizations. And there was only one at the time that I could find. And it wasn't interested in utilizing my services in any way for volunteers, so I went and got some training. Okay. So I thought maybe I should go learn about it. So I went to Shared Hope International in Washington State, and I went to a training, and immediately I saw there was a gap in where there was no prevention going on. There was no warning system in the schools. So I saw that I could go to the school into the school system and do trainings for kids as to what it looks like to be chosen. So that's how I got involved. Okay. When I came back, immediately somebody had heard I did that from our group and called me the day I got back and said, "You want to do schools? Because I have a group of ladies that are willing to help you." And that's how we got into we were in the school system right away, within a month, I think. I had a second training, and then we were right in the school system.
Okay. So now you go to...
So now I go to high schools, colleges, universities, like I was at HPU yesterday. Okay. I'll do all levels. I do our basic training for our organization, but I do a 1-hour presentation on what it looks like to be chosen. I show a 20-minute movie called Chosen from Shared Hope International, and then I do a PowerPoint. And then if answer questions, I like to have about an hour and a half, but sometimes we only have 55 minutes. So I get through it. It's focused on the perspective of being chosen, so it's not a law enforcement piece necessarily. Right. It's not for healthcare, but it's for the general public for a really good understanding, especially if you're a parent, a teacher, somebody dealing with kids, or if you are a kid.
Okay, so it's great. It's good to make them aware.
Correct.
Of what's going on and how they can see the signs so that they don't fall prey to.
It's hard to self-identify as a victim of sex trafficking in the state of Hawaii. It's hard to self-identify as a victim anywhere. If you were, you know, to be. A lot of victims don't realize they have been one until they see a movie or go through a training, and then they say, "Oh gosh, there was a period of time in my life," or "That's happening to a friend of mine." It's an aha moment with the DVD I use. The movie really helps everybody identify what it looks like.
Okay. Is that something people can have access to?
I think we have a just the little trailer. Okay. Usually I bring the DVD, and if I do a presentation, I give it out because they do cost me money from Shared Hope. We did get a grant, and we bought a bunch of them with the grant money. So we got lucky, and everybody we do presentations to, I hand one out to.
Great.
So that they have a tool.
Right, right. And so how would you define if somebody doesn't know that they might be a victim, like in a I know,
Right.
it's probably really involved.
This is kind of the situation. In the state of Hawaii, we use prostitution and promoting prostitution laws. We don't really use the definition sex trafficking in any of our laws. We're the last state in the United States. We had a law written last year and the governor vetoed it, so everybody's aware of that. That's why we don't self-identify right away. Number one, our present law lumps everybody in under one law: the girl, the pimp, or the boyfriend or the pimp, and the buyer, the John. And that's not fair, and it's not right to lump them. And then underage victims, right now we don't really have any services. We have hotline you can call, yes. Our organization has somebody who will reach out, who can reach out. There's Susanna Wesley also has somebody who can reach out, but other than that, there isn't a lot we can do. We are starting a mentoring program in our organization. Getting the funding for that has been, it's happening right now. But once we get the mentoring program, then we'll be able to really help more girls. Right now, there isn't many services. If you're over the age of 18, you can get some services and there is a home you can go to. But for underage victims, no, nothing. Wow. Okay. Which is sad. And they end up in juvenile justice, in the penal system, because that's how they got there. They're there in the first place. Maybe they were in foster care and they're running away. So they end up back in those places and then they end up running away again, and it's an ongoing cycle because they're not able to identify as a victim and we don't have services for them quite yet as a victim. So they end up back in the system. So it's quite a problem. Our organization is building a home for the underage victims, and we're in the process of doing it right now. And without the home, there's nowhere for them to go. It's hard to get them out because you can't take them out and
where do you put them?
There's no place, and they're underage.
Right.
So so child welfare wants them back, puts them back in the child welfare system, or they end up in juvenile justice somehow because maybe they've committed a crime that's got them there in the first place. So usually they're not getting arrested right away for prostitution. But down the line, if you see their arrest record, you'll see that over time they've gone from maybe truancy and stealing to like being arrested for prostitution charges. And so, but we have no place for underage victims right now, so that's why it's crucial.
Yes.
Our organization and get our home built.
Okay, so the mission of
Ho'olanapua is to build a home for underage victims of sex trafficking here in the state of Hawaii. We're going to have a facility that can handle, is it 32 or 36 girls, and it won't be boys because unfortunately right now we are concentrating on the female population, but down the line there will be some types of services. We just don't have that right now.
Also, there's more girls.
There's more girls, but actually there's probably a lot more boys in the market than you want, that we know about, but they're not going to come forward. They're not going to share their stories, and a lot of them will sell themselves on the street so that they make money and keep their money, whereas a lot of the girls are being sold by somebody else and not keeping their money. So that is the difference that makes. But the boys still are being exploited. Not all of them keep their money. So our facility, our home, will be for underage girls under the age of 18.
And it will help them.
It'll help them. And it's almost like a little mini hospital. I mean, the type of this home we're building, we have to go through the hospital system to get the permitting and everything to get a facility like this run. We're also writing the program. We're almost done with writing the program for the girls. So it's very complicated, and we had no idea how difficult it was going to be. So I promise you, I'm not doing any of the really hard work. But the two people that there's about 4 people that are, in the program writing and working all of that out, and the building of our actual home. That is.
Has that started, or
so
is that?
We received the land from DLNR, and we got it leased to us. And it was a very nice lease, and we were awarded, the state awarded it to our organization. And so we have so much time in order to get the funding to do, there's a building on it. It's just sitting there waiting for us. But it's been vandalized. And so, but
So
we have architects and
Okay.
designers right now working on that.
Okay.
We've had somebody working on all our permitting who's very generous. We've had so many generous in-kind volunteers and people giving their services. But now we need the major capital
Okay.
because we know we can get matching funds, but we need the initial funds. And I'm really hoping for, I always have this number of $2 million in my head. If we could get the first $2 million, that's the rest we can put
So
together.
that's what you need right now to
I would
just
say
get it off the
to
ground.
get it off the ground, we need $2 million. So
Okay.
we need, which for some people it really isn't a lot.
That's right.
But
Yeah, there's so many people in the world.
we're fairly new. We're
Yeah.
considered a grassroots organization. So it's taken us time to build up a reputation.
Okay.
Which, speaking like this January will be our second year that our nonprofit has been in service. But our group was together before that. I'm going on my 4th year, and then Jessica, our president who started this, is probably started in 2008.
Wow.
So she's going to go in 2016 on her 8th year
In Hawaii.
working on the issue.
Okay.
So we were under another nonprofit for a little while, but it was mainland based, and we realized in order to do the home, we had to have our own local nonprofit.
Yeah.
But we have never stopped training, whether it was, reaching out to law enforcement, reaching out to healthcare providers, working with a trauma-informed care psychologist that supports us, Dr. George Rhodes, and Jessica Munoz, our president, is a nurse practitioner in the ER room at the Polymomi. She's one of the managers there. And we're always training. We're training somebody, we're talking to people. And then I've been in the school system where I've done probably about 130 presentations to date, somewhere around there.
Wow.
Almost 5,000 students in the last 2 years,
Wow.
between 20 and 30 kids per class. So I never say no to it. So that's what we can do right now until we actually get the funding. And that's our main focus right now, the funding.
Okay.
We raised funds recently.
Okay,
to
and you had a
capacity
fundraiser,
build.
right, in October?
Yes.
Okay.
And we did very well, but that's funds will be used to build our capacity to hire employees,
Got it.
because some of the stuff that we're doing, you have to have legitimate employees
Yeah.
to do. So we'll use that, and then now we're in this, let's get a major capital funding. $2 million, that's the number I'm talking about right now.
Yes, I like it.
Yeah.
So what does the name, what does Ho'olanapua mean?
So it's basically new life for our children. It's metaphor. The Hawaiians spoke in metaphors. So it's healing, and then Napua is flowers. They always called children flowers. The Hawaiians. So it's new life for our children. It's a healing for the children. Thanks.
Awesome. So what part of the mission speaks to you personally? I know you told us a little bit about how you got involved, but
So the prevention piece, because I will say this, 80% of the classes I go into, especially if I'm in the high schools, I see it. I can see it on their faces. Kids will come forward, the most shocking stories will be told. I have for the first year that I did this, I remember telling Jessica, my president, all the time, I feel like we're just talking to air because we're not seeing it, we're not hearing about it, there's no response to what's going on. And she's like, I know, but we have to keep doing it because we know it's out there.
That is going on.
And then all of a sudden, boom, I guess when we get better at communicating what it looks like, we started getting reactions. And now it's constant. I have a lot of validation that it's happening, which is unfortunate. But that keeps you going. It keeps you telling the story and getting out there. I had yesterday HPU, the student that brought us into the classroom, brought me into the classroom, actually was a student from Sacred Hearts that had had a presentation 2 years previous.
Oh, wow.
So because of her Sacred Hearts presentation that we did for them, we did 600 girls 2 years in a row. we were able to do
Wow.
HPU.
That's
There's just generational. So
Yeah.
a lot of the kids take it forward when they get to be adults and bring
Yeah.
us into the university level.
right, and that's where
Right.
the whole issue needs to be addressed.
It's the prevention
right?
piece because you can stop some of what's going on if there was an awareness about it.
Yeah.
And then there's of course a percentage that it's happening and it's going to happen, but we can attempt to stop it.
Yeah. And how is it so prevalent and we don't know about it? People just don't know, but it's happening.
Well, so in the state of Hawaii, we're so isolated, we're out in the ocean, okay? So my take is that what happens on the mainland, they say, stays on the mainland. It really doesn't.
Yeah.
It comes here.
Yeah.
We're a tourist destination. We have a lot of military bases, so we have a high population of men in our state. We have sporting events, and we have bad law, and we tended not to see sex trafficking as a crime until recently. There was a very small portion of the community working on the issue, getting the word out there. Before that, everybody's like, no, these are prostitutes. And no, we're saying no, they've been prostituted. So until that time, we're kind of ripe for, trafficking in the state because we don't have the right laws to protect the innocent. We're still not admitting that they're innocent. We're not doing the arrests we should do. So our group, as well as a few others in the state, have been very loud and opinionated on the situation, trying to get heard. But it is taking a while, and it's unfortunate. But I think there's a lot of economy that runs around sex. And the internet, the technology that's being used to recruit, to groom, and to run services is all online now.
Yeah.
So there's, buying is online, pornography is online, and the grooming and the finding of the innocent victims is going on online. So it's relatively hidden.
Yeah.
So the general population might see girls at night on the streets later and older women, but you're not seeing the youth on the streets. They don't have to be necessarily.
Right, because they're online.
Can be online.
Yeah. And for me, I know when I saw that documentary and really started to think about things and have a dialogue with my friends and things, for me what struck me was that if we can change the way that women are actually seen in the world, and if we can have the same level of respect that that men have, and I know that's a whole other issue, but for me it's like if we can teach our men, all of them, I know there's a lot of them that get, go through the cracks in the system and all of that, but I mean that's where it starts, right? Is that we would never even imagine treating anybody that way. Never imagine treating women as that sort of, so I know that's like a huge undertaking, but.
So this is how I kind of teach, one of the things I bring up in the classroom is you have this platform, let's just say it's the internet, and you have pornography, you have pictures, you're looking at things, okay? So, and, when I grew up, because I'm in my 50s, it was a Playboy magazine and it was hard to find.
Yeah.
And that was it. So now there's this technology out there, you have pictures out there, you have streaming out there, and I will say this, people get addicted to it very easily. Kids get addicted to it. The younger, the more detrimental to the development of the brain. And so you have an escalation of use. It's almost like a gateway drug. Not in all cases, but in some it escalates in use, maybe to wanting to chat in chat rooms, maybe then you want to go to strip clubs, and maybe then from a strip club to buying is a very small step for most of these individuals. And the percentage that does this is very small, but I think the #1 site looked for on the internet or around the world right now is a pornography site or sex. Sex is the #1.
Because it's anonymous, right? Like you're in your home.
So that means a lot of people are doing it.
Yeah.
And
of course.
There's a small percentage that will continue and the use will escalate. So it creates this supply and demand for harder and more, and the buying of a person after that just seems so small, and it really isn't, but to the mind of the person that's doing it, it is. So we're just trying to educate, because a lot of men, if they understood that, #1, this is exploiting somebody, this is leading to the growth and exploitation and if you explain it right, they're gonna get it.
Yeah, right, because a
And
lot
then
of them
there's-
don't think about
No.
past the,
Plus, we haven't really said, we haven't put a big stop sign up there saying, this is wrong,
Yeah.
this is exploitation, this is messing up your kids.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be
And
buying
yourself,
anybody.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
they're just now, those people, they fight that issue, but really, it is everybody's issue.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a
And,
human issue.
and it's,
Yeah.
so it's just education,
Yeah.
educating everybody. So if you go into a courtroom and and the peers in the room aren't educated, they're gonna convict the wrong person. They're gonna think the victim is the bad guy,
Yeah.
because it can be made to look like she is, right? So that's why everybody has to understand what victimization looks like, what exploitation looks like. And then we have to have a place for the girls to go.
Yeah, absolutely.
We have to have services.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And the home, so the rehabilitation is almost lifelong for some of them. It will be ongoing.
Absolutely.
They need a couple of years to really heal, to get a girl to the point where they might testify in court. Extremely sensitive, very difficult,
Absolutely.
re-victimizing them almost.
Yeah.
Plus, they very much identify, they have a trauma bond with their perpetrators, so they identify with their boyfriend, with their situation. They do not see themselves as victims. Getting them out, getting them to
Reprogram their
is
brain
difficult.
around what all that stuff means, sex
Yeah.
and love and, all of that.
So the home
yeah.
will have a lot of therapeutic services like
Okay.
that.
And how long will they stay?
Well, depending on their youth, we'd like them to stay as long as they can. If it was a state-run facility, they're going to keep kids out as soon as they can get a kid
Yeah.
rehabilitated.
Sure.
That's why we are privately funded,
Yep.
mostly, would like to be, because then we can have control of that. But, we will have to take some funding, of course, because it's really expensive to run a facility like this, but less expensive to rehabilitate them than it is to incarcerate them.
Yeah. Oh, that's a
Yes.
good statistic to know
Yes.
too.
So
Yeah.
our state incarceration system for juveniles will cost more. So,
That's good to know.
Yes.
So what can we do to help with the funding and also just if
Well,
someone
so
wants to volunteer?
it's really nice if people take it upon themselves, if they want to help, have a little fundraiser, do a car wash, do a bake sale.
Okay.
I really like it when kids, teenagers, and
Yeah.
high school kids take it upon themselves to take action, because they really get parents involved that way, but also churches getting involved,
Yeah,
communities
or-
getting
yeah,
involved.
organizing something.
Right, because
Okay.
we are not a faith-based organization. We're an organization that we're not saving anybody through the church.
Right.
They're going through a healing process,
Right.
but there's a spiritual aspect to it. But we need help from everybody, so that's why we reach out to communities, churches, students,
Yeah.
people like you, Heathen Arts.
Yeah. So people can just directly donate.
You can directly donate to Ho'olanapua.
Okay.
If you need a speaker, if you need if you gather a group, especially if there's youth, I will come do a
Okay,
presentation
so
if they
you
want to
can
learn.
Get a hold of the organization and
Right,
organize
request me,
your
my
meeting.
name is Kaleo Schneider,
Okay.
and if you want to if somebody wants to come to one of our trainings, we have a volunteer base, you can sign up there, we train you before, and
Okay.
we have trainings once a month or every other month.
Okay. So
And we
pretty
go through like a
regular.
2-hour process, and everybody gets updated on what sex trafficking looks like from
Right.
the chosen, and then they get what our organization, Ho'olanapua, is about, and how to get this home open.
Awesome. That's so amazing. So what's the best way to contact? Website?
So
phone
our
number?
website is www.ho'olanapua.org.
I will put this
And we'll
on
put
the
that up.
video. Yeah.
We're easy to find. When you put in sex trafficking Hawaii,
Yeah.
we show up pretty fast
Okay.
too. There's really only 1 or 2 other organizations that might pop up, but we're the one building the home for the underage victims.
Okay.
And then my name is Kaleo Schneider, and if you put my name in, I'm the only one in the state. I used to come up as a restaurant owner. Now I come up as a sex trafficking teacher,
That is
anti-sex trafficking
Awesome.
teacher.
Wonderful. So if you have a school or a class or just get a group
Right.
of people together, Kaleo will come and speak to you all.
Yeah, we'll speak, and raising funds is crucial. We really need that first opinion. And
Yeah.
we're sort of, I consider us, we're still grassroots, but we're moving past that pretty fast. Our core crew has been together for the main heart of our crew for going on 4 years, some of them a little bit longer.
Wow, that's, yeah, you guys are very dedicated.
And we
committed.
recently have hired our first employees in this
Woohoo!
last year.
Congratulations, that's fantastic. I know it's just going to grow and
Yeah.
build and all that.
Thank
So,
you.
Yeah, thank you so much for being with us today.
Oh, thank you very much.
I will put all the information out to how to get a hold of Ho'olanapua and Kaleo. And please do look into helping in whatever way you feel called to do. I know that they would really appreciate it, and so with those girls who will benefit from the help. So thank you so much. It was wonderful to have you, and we'll see you guys next time.
Thank you.